Hello. Welcome back to the channel, and this is a channel where we give you reviews, playthroughs, unboxings. We generally like to talk a load of bollocks about tabletop gaming in general, and in this video we're going to be talking about a worker placement / auction game. We're going to be talking about Yedo, and in this game you will be placing your workers out onto the board to take actions that will give you resources that will allow you to complete missions that will allow you to win the game. So in this video we're going to be giving you a very brief overview of the rules. We're telling you what we do like, we don't like. Then we'll come back and we'll tell you whether or not Yedo is still worth your time and bother 10 years after it's first released it in 2012. So remember, if you are new at it, please consider subscribing to this channel, hit the like button, subscribe and all that YouTube bullshit. See ya after this. Bollocks. So, Yedo, how'd you play this game? So Yedo is an auction / worker placement game. This game is split into 7 phases. The first phase is the prep phase, where you'll be setting up for the oncoming round, right? The next phase is the bidding phase. This is where you'll be bidding on a load of stuff that's going to give you action cards that you can use to disrupt people's plans. You'll be bidding on bonus cards that will give you extra points for doing stuff at the end of the game. You'll be bidding on a selection of weapons. You'll be bidding on a load of annexes, which are extra places where you can send your workers. You might be bidding on geisha, you might be able to get extra workers, and you'll be bidding on the chance to grab extra mission cards, which is where you'll be getting the bulk of your resources and maybe victory points as well. The auction is a little bit different to a lot of the other types of auctions you find in games. The player that's furthest up on the bidding track will always go first. If they don't win the auction, they'll go first again, right? Once everybody has got something out the auction, or they suffered from premature evacuation, then you'll move on to the event phase. You'll do the usual thing. You'll remove some weapons from the weapons array and you'll repopulate it, and then you'll reveal an event card, and these are usually bad. There's 2 types of events. There's extra nasty events that you can put in, the samurai events. These are generally really bad, but we don't usually play with these because the game's hard enough as it is. So you might have by order of the Bakufu. It says in player order, each player may gain the top mission card from the mission deck of their choice. Or you might pull out the New Moon, and this says if the watch patrol ends its movement in a district containing any disciples, these disciples escape arrest. Or you might have Charity Week, and this says the red light district is inaccessible this round, which is always disappointing. So these events are generally pretty bad, right? So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to move on to the assigning phase, and this is where you'll be placing your workers out onto the central board to take actions. Once everybody has used all their workers, then you'll move on to the watch patrol phase. You'll see that there is a geezer that goes round and round in circles in the centre of the board. It's a bit like my life being stuck on a bloody island, isn't it? But what you do, you move them to the next available space. Everybody gets a chance to play action cards that might interfere with his motives, and then he'll arrest anybody that's in the district that he is in. You have got a blackmail card that you'll be able to use to blackmail the guard. I don't know what I'm blackmailing with, but I'm sure you'll think of something. If you get arrested, you'll go to prison. If you've only got 2 disciples, then they'll just go back to your player board. So then you've got the trade phase. If you're in the market phase or the tavern district, you'll be able to trade with other players that are in the same district. And then you'll move on to the action phase, where you'll be pulling your workers off the board to take the different actions. So there are a gazillion and 1 options here. We're not going to go through all of them, just going to go through a couple because I don't want you dying in your sleep. So if you look at the Gates district, you might want to recruit an extra disciple for 7 quid. The Tavern district lets you build an annex for 11 money. You can pretend to go to church and steal all their cash if you go to the Harbour district. At the Red Light district, you can pay 8 money to hire a geisha, right? You better buy weapons at the Market District, and in the Castle District you'll be able to manipulate turn order. So one of the other options you've got in the action phase is, instead of taking the action on the location you're at, you get to fulfill one of these mission cards, right? You'll see there's varying degrees of difficulty. The green cards are the easiest, the black cards are the hardest, and you'll see there are some requirements on each mission. You'll have to have a disciple in a certain location that's listed on the card. It'll ask you for a certain amount of resources. You might want to complete the learn what will be on the tavern's menu next week. You have to have a geezer in the Tavern district, and this will give you 5 victory points. There's also a bonus reward if you can fulfill the bonus requirements, and this one, if you've got a bloke in the Red Light district, you'll get an extra 5 coins. There is a black card here that will end the game prematurely if you manage to kill the Shogun by having a bloke in 4 different districts, 2 geisha, you have to give up 10 money, 2 annexes, you have to have a blessing and 3 weapons. This will give you 14 victory points and 2 bonus cards, and it'll end the game. Doesn't mean you're going to win the game, you sneaky little shit. You still have to win it via points, won't you? Always won. You'll keep doing this, you'll keep putting your workers out on the board, you keep trying to bid on the auctions. The game says it lasts for 11 rounds, so this is far too long, right? You're going to give yourself a brain aneurysm, but you keep doing this. Once you've completed the set number of rounds, you will look at your bonus cards, you'll fulfill them, you get victory points. If you haven't used your blackmail card, you get 2 points, and then the player with the most victory points will be the winner of Yedo. So what do we like about Yedo? So the first thing that we really like about this is the board. It looks absolutely gorgeous, doesn't it? Right, the colours on the board are absolutely super. The artwork on the board is absolutely fantastic. The board might be a little bit too big. You're going to be reaching over the board quite a bit because it is quite wide, and a lot of the areas of the board are just taken up by houses that don't do nothing, right? This is still one of the most beautiful looking boards that we have seen. The colours are really vibrant, really, really tasty. So the second thing we like about this game is there is a huge range of options to take. Some people that I've played this with say that there are too many options available, but a lot of these options are just maybe taking the cards and shuffling them and placing them back on the respective deck, right? There's a nice contrast between the cheap but dangerous nature of the auction. It's not worth putting all your eggs into the auction basket because you might not be able to afford it or even get anywhere near what you want, but there's more reliable sources of resources in the main board, but it's going to cost you a lot more money. So there's a nice synergy going on with what's on the north side of the river and what's on the south side of the river. So the third thing we really like about this game is that turns come round really, really quickly, because this game is divided up into 7 relatively short phases. It's not like Merchants and Marauders when you do the port action where everybody's going to go through all these steps and it just drags and drags and drags and it feels like you're wading through a quagmire of cow shit. No, this game is really, really quick. It's very, very clever. More often than not, you'll be putting something out on the board. You'll be saying, I want to bid this, or you'll be taking something off. You'll be taking a reward. So there's not a lot of downtime in this game. It's just the downtime comes from people not using the time they got to figure out what they want to do beforehand. Some people can just look at the board and go into freeze frame mode, right? So what don't we like about Yedo? So the first thing that we don't like about this game is it's too bloody long. 11 rounds is far too long. It's going to take you about 4 hours to get through this beast. But then 6 rounds is too short. Even 9 rounds doesn't give you enough time to gain the momentum to complete those more lucrative mission cards. So there's this weird disconnect between the mission cards needing you to take your time to get the resources, because it's not really an engine building game, right? And the length of time it takes to actually play the bloody thing. So the second thing that we don't like about Yedo, it is very, very frustrating. This leads on from the last point where the game requires you to take time to build up your resources. And just when you want to pull the trigger to chain all those actions together, somebody steps in and buggers you up with either an action card or they take the spot that you've been planning to go to for the last 5 rounds, and then the game's over. So the board is literally like a brick wall that keeps asking you to bang your head against. So the third and final thing that we don't like about Yedo is that the payoffs on the mission cards are really, really feeble. I mean, this game is all about getting victory points, but it's not until you get into the red or black cards that they're going to be providing you with victory points. And like we said, these are really, really difficult to complete unless you're playing a really long game, which is going to drive you up the wall. The green and yellow cards don't really focus on victory points, they focus on resources. I know over the long game you're going to be completing the easier mission cards to get resources to complete the later ones, but the black and red cards are so bloody difficult to complete because people keep disrupting your plans with action cards, and even the events are going to disrupt your plans as well. So there's too many competing factors to make this game flow as well as it should do. So to summarise, is Yedo still worth your time and bother today and in the future? So we're going to say probably not. I'm not saying this is a bad game, it's just that we played similar games that are better than this one. It's a decent enough Euro that hides a lot of its frustrations behind a pretty looking board. The myriad of options that this game seems to offer is ultimately hindered by too many obstacles being put in your path too often. Add to that the unsatisfying payoff on a lot of the mission cards, and it's clear to me that the negatives of this game far outweigh the positives. If you're looking for a game of this type, I'd highly recommend checking out Lords of Waterdeep or Francis Drake. They've both got the same type of mechanisms. The auction system in this is quite similar to the Plymouth section of Francis Drake, and Lords of Waterdeep just seems to have a nicer flow to it. Doesn't feel bitty or as frustrating. So as such, we really can't recommend Yedo. If you really must play this, just go and find yourself a brick wall and start headbutting it. So there you go, that's Yedo. Remember, if you're new here, then please consider subscribing to this channel. Leave a comment in that section down below. Hit the like button, subscribe and all that YouTube bullshit. We'll see you next time.